Imagine looking in the mirror and discovering that within you lies a genetic trait inherited from a species that went extinct thousands of years ago. More than that, what if this trait is so unique that it could change your perception of your own ancestry? Well, that's exactly what scientists have discovered. Some of our ancestors carried a peculiar gene, one that determined something rare and fascinating: red hair in Neanderthals. This means that part of the DNA of a vanished species still lives within us. But how is this possible? What does this discovery reveal about who we are? And more importantly, could you have a piece of this ancient past inside you? Get ready for a fascinating journey through history and science, because what we are about to reveal may completely change your understanding of your own origins. Make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. For upcoming videos, who were the Neanderthals? Neanderthals were not just distant cousins of our species. They were our contemporaries, living side by side with the first modern humans for thousands of years. With robust bodies adapted to the intense cold of Europe and Asia, these ancestors had strong bone structures, elongated skulls, and distinctive facial features, such as prominent brows and broad noses. But the biggest surprise, they were not the brutish and primitive beings many people imagine. Studies reveal that Neanderthals had a rich social life, built advanced tools, mastered fire, and even practiced burial rituals. And this is where the mystery begins. If they were so intelligent and well adapted to their environment, why did they disappear? The answer may lie in the very blood that runs through our veins. After all, Neanderthals didn't completely vanish. Parts of them still live in us. And some of those parts include surprising physical traits, like red hair. For centuries, it was believed that Neanderthals were just a variation of primitive humans, without major physical distinctions beyond body structure. But in 2007, a discovery revolutionized this idea. Some Neanderthals may have been red-haired. Scientists analyzed DNA extracted from Neanderthal fossils found in Spain and Italy, and discovered a mutation in the MC1R gene, the same gene responsible for hair and skin pigmentation in modern humans. This mutation revealed something astonishing. Neanderthals had genetic variations that could result in red hair and fair skin. This means that this characteristic, which today is found in less than 2% of the world's population, may have emerged independently in both Neanderthals and Homo sapiens. But what's even more intriguing is that this discovery raises an interesting question. Could some red-haired people today carry a genetic trace of Neanderthals? To answer that, we need to understand how the MC1R mutation works, and whether there is a direct connection between Neanderthals and modern redheads. The Neanderthal redhead gene and modern humans. The MC1R mutation found in red-haired Neanderthals is not exactly the same as the one that causes red hair in modern humans, but its effects are very similar. In Homo sapiens, this mutation results in reduced production of eumelanin, the dark pigment responsible for black and brown hair. As a result, red-haired people have reddish hair and extremely fair skin. But what about Neanderthals? The discovery of their MC1R variation suggests that they developed fair skin and red hair for evolutionary reasons similar to modern humans. In regions with low sunlight like prehistoric Europe, fair skin allowed for better absorption of vitamin D, essential for survival. The big question is, was this mutation passed down to modern humans? Although today's redhead genes are different from those of Neanderthals, there is evidence that up to 4% of human DNA may have Neanderthal origins. This means that even if the specific gene wasn't passed down, other traits from these ancient people still live within us. How do we know we have Neanderthal DNA? You may not realize it, but within your genetic code, there may be small signatures left by Neanderthals. Studies indicate that between 1% and 4% of the DNA of populations outside of Africa comes from Neanderthals. This means that if you have European or Asian ancestry, there's a good chance you carry a trait inherited from these ancient humans. And it's not just visible characteristics like fair skin or red hair. Some adaptations Neanderthals developed to survive in cold climates may still be present in us, such as higher cold tolerance, faster metabolism, and even variations in immunity. This explains why some people are more resistant to certain diseases or have a greater tendency for allergies, traits inherited directly from Neanderthals. But how can we determine exactly how much of our DNA comes from these ancestors? The answer lies in modern science, genetic testing. Today, anyone can take a DNA test and see if they carry traces of this extinct lineage. But is it really worth taking this test? And what exactly can it reveal about your ancestry? How to know if you have Neanderthal DNA? If you've ever wondered how much Neanderthal DNA you have, the answer may lie in a simple DNA test. With advancements in genetics, it's now possible to discover inherited traits from this extinct species through tests offered by companies like 23andMe, Ancestry DNA, and MyHeritage. These tests analyze millions of genetic variants and identify how many of them match known Neanderthal DNA sequences. The results can reveal small percentages of ancestry and inherited traits, such as predisposition to fair skin, sensitivity to cold, tendency for allergies, and even dietary preferences. But here's an interesting detail. Not all red-haired people have Neanderthal DNA, and not all Neanderthal descendants have red hair. That's because their DNA mixed over generations, diluting some characteristics while others remained. So, what does all this mean for us? The answer lies in distinguishing myths from truths about Neanderthals, and some of them might surprise you. Myths and truths about Neanderthals. For a long time, Neanderthals were depicted as primitive and brutal beings, but science has proven that this image is far from reality. Here are some of the most common myths about them. Myth 1. Neanderthals were brutish and unintelligent. This is by far the most common myth. For years, pop culture has portrayed Neanderthals as wild, grumpy creatures, incapable of reasoning like Homo sapiens. But modern science has proven otherwise. Archaeological research shows that Neanderthals had impressive skills. They created sophisticated tools, like wooden spears and sharp stone blades. They controlled fire, cooked food, and even made natural glues to attach spear tips. Evidence suggests they buried their dead, possibly indicating spiritual beliefs or funeral rituals. Their brains had speech-related areas similar to modern humans, meaning they may have had some form of language. Neanderthals were not just Ice Age survivors. They were intelligent and adaptable beings. Myth 2. Neanderthals were completely extinct. Many believe Neanderthals simply vanished, but the truth is, they live on in our DNA. Studies show that 1% to 4% of non-African human DNA can be traced back to Neanderthals. This means that at some point in history, Neanderthals and Homo sapiens interbred, passing down their genes. Some inherited traits include stronger immune systems, helping fight infections, cold tolerance, linked to Neanderthal genetic adaptations. Even conditions like allergies and predisposition to depression may have Neanderthal origins. So, while Neanderthals disappeared as a species, they were never truly extinct. Myth 3. All Neanderthals had red hair after the MC1R discovery. Some assumed all Neanderthals were red-haired, but this isn't true. Genetic studies show that only some individuals had this mutation, and Neanderthal populations were diverse, with brown, blonde, and dark hair depending on their region. But if they were so diverse and adaptable, why did they disappear? To understand that, we need to explore their extinction. Why did Neanderthals disappear? If Neanderthals were so well adapted to their environment and even interbred with Homo sapiens, why did they disappear? This is one of the biggest questions in archaeology and paleoanthropology. And although there is no single answer, there are a few main hypotheses. One of them is climate change. During the time Neanderthals lived, Europe experienced severe climate fluctuations. They were specialized for surviving in cold temperatures, but these drastic changes could have made food sources scarce, weakening their populations. Another hypothesis is competition with Homo sapiens. Modern humans who migrated to Europe around 45,000 years ago had more complex social networks, greater capacity for innovation, and more advanced technology, which may have given them a competitive advantage. And of course, there is the genetic assimilation theory. Instead of being simply wiped out, Neanderthals may have been gradually absorbed into our species through interbreeding, which would explain why we still carry traces of their DNA. Today, thanks to publicly available genetic testing, thousands of people around the world are discovering that they have inherited Neanderthal traits. Some report unexpected characteristics, such as greater sensitivity to cold, predisposition to allergies, and even a slightly different skull shape. Additionally, recent studies show that Neanderthal traits still influence our health and behavior. Researchers have identified that certain conditions, such as depression, insomnia, and even addiction risks, may have genetic origins linked to Neanderthals. This suggests that while these genes once helped our ancestors survive, they might have different effects in today's modern lifestyle. With science advancing rapidly, it is only a matter of time before more discoveries emerge. But what about behavior? Could some of our actions still carry traces of this distant past? Curiosity. Question: could your behavior be Neanderthal? What if some of your everyday habits were actually a reflection of your Neanderthal heritage in your DNA? Scientists have discovered that certain behaviors may have been inherited from these ancient ancestors and still influence the way we live today. For example, some people experience lighter and more fragmented sleep, which may have been useful for Neanderthals, as they needed to stay alert to natural dangers. Another interesting curiosity: a tendency to feel discomfort in large social groups may have originated from the fact that Neanderthals lived in smaller and more closed communities. Another common trait linked to them is sensitivity to cold. If you feel a chill faster than others or have a high resistance to low temperatures, you might have inherited this directly from Neanderthals. What does this mean for the future? Is there still more to discover about this species? The answer may lie in genetic advancements and the possibility of one day bringing Neanderthals back to life. With each new genetic discovery, Neanderthals are no longer just figures from the past. They are becoming key pieces in understanding who we really are. But how far can science go? Researchers are now able to map Neanderthal DNA with precision, revealing which genes we inherited from them and how they impact our modern lives. But an even bolder question arises: could we recreate a Neanderthal? With advances in biotechnology and genetic engineering, the possibility of reviving the species has already been debated by scientists, using techniques like CRISPR gene editing. Some theorists believe that one day we might be able to reconstruct a complete Neanderthal genome and even attempt to bring a specimen back to life. But this raises deep ethical questions. Should we do it? While this debate continues, what we already know is astonishing. Neanderthals were never completely extinct. They live on inside us, shaping our appearance, health, and even some of our behaviors. The big question: do you carry a Neanderthal trait? It's incredible to think that a species that went extinct more than 40,000 years ago still leaves traces in us today, isn't it? Neanderthal DNA lives on in millions of people worldwide, influencing everything from physical traits to behaviors we never imagined were inherited. But now I want to hear from you. Have you ever felt like you might have a Neanderthal characteristic? Do you relate to any of the traits mentioned here, such as sensitivity to cold, light sleep, or discomfort in large groups? Leave a comment sharing your opinion. And if you're curious to find out if you have Neanderthal genes, maybe it's time to take a genetic test. Who knows? You might have a piece of this ancient history living inside you. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button, as it helps spread this content to more people. Subscribe to the channel for more fascinating content about the history of humanity, and share this video with a friend who might have a bit of Neanderthal in them. See you in the next video.